What is the most weight that you could put on this, the DJI RS3 Pro? Could you put an FX3 on there with a 7200? Yeah, you can. How about with a mono on top? That one we'll have to find out. But what about this monstrosity, which doesn't even really look like it fits in the frame? Now the RS3 Pro is rated for up to 10 pounds, but that doesn't mean a lot if you have something that's making it pretty top heavy or front heavy. That 10 pounds could become a lot less weight. So I was interested what we can actually put on this in terms of rigs that you actually might be using out and about on a daily basis. I'm also going to be talking about this a little bit later because this can potentially upgrade your gimbal and allow you to carry more than what you thought was possible. And this costs like $25. So a 7200. Pretty interesting look on a gimbal. Get a lot of parallax movement if you have objects blocking the frame. In general, it's a harder lens to balance on gimbals because it just makes it so front heavy. And a lot of gimbals aren't designed to be big enough to allow this to easily balance on them. I want to see if we can balance the 7200 with the focus motor on there. I'm also going to be using this, the Anton Bauer Titan base, in all of these setups because I like to use that. It means I don't have to change my battery throughout the whole day at all. I normally go this axis first. Yup, that's easy. I'm putting it at 200 even though everything zooms internally on the F4 version here. That just seems like it was way too easy to do. Oh yeah, that is a piece of cake. 7200 on there, no problem whatsoever. That was really easy. No problem whatsoever. Yeah, look at that. What about if we throw this wireless monitor on top?
Why would you do that? To test it.
Now this just slides on, I can lock that in place. Now the gimbal is definitely off balance. It's still on, it's showing me it's off balance, though it's red on the screen. Let's turn it off, let's unlock it, let's see where we're at. So now we're super top heavy. It's all over the place. Go down to the max, lowest point here. Yeah, so that won't actually balance. That is too top heavy. That's where this could come into play. So this is a counterweight that Small Rig makes specifically for the DJI RS2 and RS3. Right now we're super top heavy, but if I put this on the bottom, right here I have two 100-gram weights on here, and this will bring the center of gravity down a bit, and we might be able to balance it. The nice thing with this counterweight is that you can screw other counterweights into it to increase the length from the bottom there, but there is also like 3 or 4 1/4" 20 threads on here, so you can just spread these out a little bit more if you want to, and you can buy different weight variations of this too. So that right there is actually on the cusp of being balanced. Obviously there's no cable attached as well, we still have to put that on. If we turn that on, we're green, we are balanced. Calibrate it according to the screen here. We are good. I don't think you'd ever want to use this setup because you've got a monitor on top of the camera and it doesn't make sense to have it there. You could use arms and just have it mounted here instead. But if you wanted to, on the RS3 Pro, that does in fact balance with those counterweights. It's actually a good point to talk about the fact that gimbals don't need to be perfectly balanced these days, especially with the DJI gimbals. The motors are so powerful in them that if you're slightly off, or if you're using a zoom lens and you want to zoom in or zoom out and that throws the balance off, the gimbals will make up for those little imbalances. Now, by not being fully balanced, what that means is the motors are going to be a little bit more stressed. They're going to have to work a little bit harder, which means that the battery life is probably not going to be nearly as good as if it was properly balanced. The battery life's pretty solid on this anyway, and you can change out the handle if you wanted to. You don't necessarily have to have it perfectly balanced all the time. We've got the zoom working on there and everything as well. Look at that. I may as well just go straight back to the one I showed you at the start now because I didn't think it would balance that, and it did. And that's probably harder to balance than the other one. Something I've noticed actually balancing these ridiculous setups is with the RS3 Pro, it kind of knows when it can't completely fold itself properly closed. It knows it can't go past that, and it doesn't try and do it. If I turn it off, watch what happens. It doesn't even come and hit that. It just knows, oh, that's as far as I can go, and it just locks itself there instead. It's pretty smart. Now, the reason I was actually interested in seeing what was possible with the RS3 Pro is because this one we're about to build right here is an actual setup that I am planning to use for weddings for the rest of the season. 24-70 with the Anton Bauer on there, have the focus motor, be able to wirelessly trigger record and just use the dial to zoom in and out, not have to worry about changing the batteries. That to me is just the idea of perfection. Perfecto. And not having to worry about changing gear throughout a day. Now, typically I probably wouldn't use a top handle at a wedding with the FX3. I would use something like the Rode Video NTG instead, just a bit of a smaller mic. This was more, let's see what's possible. Now, the RS3 Pro has been designed to essentially allow people to mount cinema cameras and big cinema setups on the RS3 Pro. So something like the C70 with some cinema glass, or the FX6. You mean like this one? Kind of convenient. I was literally about to export that video and then my FX6 came in, and naturally I'm going to test out to see what's possible. So technically you shouldn't be able to balance this with the top handle, but without the top handle you've got no audio, so I wanted to see what I could do. And it works. It is fully balanced with the counterweights on the front there. What I actually did was put the monitor of the FX6 towards the back to try and offset the weight a bit. And it kind of works out really well because the monitor is now right in my face, right here to use it. Got full clearance all the way around. I've got the DJI wireless system on there, which I use quite frequently. But if you wanted to use a mic, if you put a mic on the top or an XLR mic in the mic handle there, it's too top heavy. So you'd have to mount it down on the side there and then run a cable down. FX6 on the Ronin RS3 Pro. It does balance with the top handle if you have the counterweights. Let's get back to the video. So this right here is the setup that we've got going on. This is the 24-70 GM Mark II with a Peter McKinnon variable ND filter. This is the 6-to-9 stop. The FX3 with the top handle, Sennheiser MK600 connected via XLR, going directly into the multi-interface shoe, so no need to use the 3.5mm input on the side. And I've got the Anton Bauer Titan-based battery, which goes directly in via a dummy battery into where the battery normally goes. Slide that on. Now let's see where we're at in terms of it being balanced. The counterweight isn't attached, so it's probably going to be really off. Right, so you can see right here that when I hold it up like this, it's wanting to go this way, which means we need to push it down more this way. But this arm right here, it can't go any lower. So that's why we now need to add these counterweights here to counter that weight and try and pull it back this way. So this piece just literally slides directly on. Kind of hard to see from this angle. There you go, right there. And then these can screw in the bottom. And if you look on the bottom of this little plate right here, you can see there is holes to screw this in at different points. We're going to keep it nice and simple, slap bang, right in the middle. We're going down, so we're going to bring the gimbal back a little bit. And that is actually one thing I do like about all of the DJI gimbals now, is that they have this little, where is it? This little knob right here, which just really allows you to make more finer adjustments on the fly. We're at 50mm on the G Master, just in the middle. We are, I believe, pretty balanced. Seems good to go that way. Definitely off that way though. Let's sort that out. And there we go. And if you don't believe me, take a look at the front of the gimbal right there. That little thing that's green, that is an indication in real time as to if the gimbal is balanced or not. So if I move it, you can see that we are green. So we're good. That's a heavy setup. You're probably not going to be wanting to use that for a whole day unless you have something to support it. I've done a couple of videos on that recently, which I'll link up there, which talk about different methods for doing that. It really takes the weight out of your arms or off your arms. But the kicker, I think, for this is how those little counterweights can really turn your gimbal from being not properly balanced to balanced, or on the cusp of being balanced, so it's usable. They can upgrade your gimbal if you have a DJI RS2, RS2. Might be worth taking a look at those if you can't balance something you need to balance. There will be a link somewhere down below to those $25 gem of a counterweights. This wasn't much of a video today. It was more, I was excited to test this out and see what was possible and bring you along as we do it. That's it. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.